Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today and you're ready to start your day with me, Mahamakhtoob, and the very smart Shazad Khan. Assalamualaikum Shazad, how are you? And how
Walaikum
did you
assalam.
like my introduction?
Walaikum assalam. I'm absolutely perfect, and I'm glad that you came up with such a beautiful and an amazing introduction about your
Keep it
co-host.
simple.
And that's how it is for you too as well. You look
I
very
don't feel like
energetic today, though. Yeah, I don't know why,
he's
but
not
you
telling
do.
the truth, really,
No, but
because
yeah,
I don't feel well at all. Have had a headache for the last 2 days,
yeah.
and because I think the weather's changing, I feel like my body, like I always get a bit sick when the weather changes. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going through one of those right now.
And thank you very much for giving me, a term for a connection to what I was about to say. And I think whatever you just said is going to connect to our public service message as
Okay,
well. Since the
great.
weather's changing, I think this is what I wanted to say.
Which
People,
is?
please be very careful because nowadays what happens is that, in daytime you do not feel that it's too cold. But, when at night, obviously it is. And then for all those people who especially go out for a walk or a jog or go to gym, when you're on your way back and you're sweating, please make sure that you wear an upper or probably a hoodie too, so that, for all of that sweat does not catch the cold air. And you don't want to be sick. And we do not want you to be sick as well.
Exactly. And I just want to reiterate yesterday's public service message, which is please use your indicators. No, because it's imperative and it's vital. And, especially even if you're visiting this country, it doesn't matter if you live in this country, use the indicators because it is dangerous. And the more we push it, the more I keep forgetting to use my indicators. So I always think that I must,
Yeah.
remind people.
That's what you call reiterating. But I think there's one more thing to
Reinforce
say
it.
about that too, and
Which
that
is?
is that, for example, if you go towards Pindi, Rawalpindi, or Lahore, or, somewhere within Punjab, what happens is that if you're going to see motorbikes over there, they do not even have side mirrors and they do not even have indicators. So they just take them off so that, their bike is way lighter than what it was before so that they can race with other people. So racing
that
obviously
why?
is not a good idea, and then taking off your indicators just because of the fact that it carries a lot of weight. Please make sure that you don't do that. That's real stupidity.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Okay, so exactly. Now, Shazad, what are the headlines today? Should I start with mine?
I think you will have to start with
'Cause you
yours
got the
because
sports.
yeah, I'll be on with my PSL thing.
Oh, okay, great. So Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has embarked on a 3-day visit to Turkey today to attend the 5th session of the Pakistan-Turkey High-Level Strategic Cooperation Council.
Amazing.
So that's great.
Yeah, that's great. And moving on, I think we are moving on towards some peace pacts as well because Pakistan and India agreed to extend by 5 years their pact on reducing the risk of nuclear accidents.
Exactly.
I think that's a great initiative by the
Yeah.
both countries, by the both neighboring countries, in fact. And now moving on towards PSL. Well, the points table, obviously Quetta tops, and then following Quetta, we have got Lahore, and then obviously, yeah, Islamabad, and then Peshawar, and then Karachi. And yesterday there was no PSL match going on, and then even today it's a break too. But from tomorrow onwards, we'll be witnessing PSL matches in Dubai. And then the match tomorrow will be in between Karachi Kings and Quetta Gladiators, where Karachi Kings are really striving hard to win. And, they got a victory or two, but I don't think that, Karachi would actually... I think Karachi will have to eat the dust by Quetta Gladiators.
Okay, so let me
That's what
ask you
it
one
is.
thing before we start our conversation,
Yeah.
just really randomly, because I've been wanting to ask, and a few people have written to me as well about this. What do you think of the names of the cricket teams? Like Quetta Gladiators?
Yeah,
And the
Oh,
Quetta Kings.
okay, you're
sorry.
asking about my opinion.
Yes, your opinion.
Yeah, I've,
not people's, yours.
Yeah, I've actually raised my concern about that. And what I said was that, what we needed to do was probably we should have had a team as Sindhi Kings or Balochi Gladiators. And then, moving on, for example, when we come to Lahore Qalandars, obviously it needs to be Punjab Qalandars. I think in this way, we will probably we'll be more inclusive of the entire nation as well, other than titling or entitling the team names to the cities only.
Okay.
And then we needed to have a team with the name of Gilgit-Baltistan or Kashmir
Okay,
too.
okay, but so my main thing was that, okay, that's when the teams grow, you'll get the different
Yeah.
names and stuff. But what about the fact that they've taken kings or gladiators or like they've taken like Western words? It was just a thought.
No. Okay, so that's how it is. Since we are a cricketing nation, okay, people over here might not even understand why we have picked up on kings and why not. So, but the thing
That's
is
what I'm
that
asking.
when you come up with such Premier Leagues, what happens is that you obviously have to come up with names which are relevant to all of those people who outside the country can even understand as well, and then the sponsors can follow.
Wonderful,
So
fair
I
enough
think
point.
that's what it is. But
Okay.
other than that, I mean, Karachi Shahzade,
Okay, great.
Lahore Badshah.
Yeah.
Whatever, it doesn't really make a difference.
Okay, no, that was just a thought that occurred to me.
Yeah,
But
thank you very much.
anyway, so now moving forward, we have a very important subject we want to discuss.
Yeah.
As we know, there's a lot of things happening within the country. There's a lot of, there's a lot of unrest. But the nation is binding together. The society is coming together.
Yeah.
But in order to make sure we have a strong society, we need to make sure that there's social justice.
Yes, and the only reason why I picked up on this issue is that, well, that's not an issue though. I mean, we need to work on it because on 20th of February, there's this World Social Justice Day.
There was, yes.
Yeah, and we were obviously busy with something else, so that's why we're dedicating our show towards social justice today. And the thing is, whenever we talk about social justice, so social justice, Ma, is an underlying principle for the coexistence of the nations, and then within, and then obviously the nation amongst the nations as well.
Yeah.
And whenever we talk about social justice, it's not just all around genders. It's obviously around the type of working opportunities you get, the type of healthcare you get, the type of schooling you get, the education you get. And then I think we've got quite a lot of figures over here which are very disturbing, but we will keep it very positive because it's Social Justice Day. We're not discussing the injustices prevalent in the society.
But as you mentioned rightly during your brief, when we were discussing this before the show, that social justice is only being discussed because there's injustice in the world. But the thing is, the theme for this year was preventing conflict and sustaining peace through decent work. And it's not just about within the society, it's also about the indigenous people. It's also about the migrants in your country. It's also about the minorities, different ethnicities. So it's all being very inclusive. So to discuss this very important subject, we have been joined by Barrister Sheikh Danish Iftikhar. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us. Besides Barrister Sheikh Danish Iftikhar, we've been joined by Ms. Aisha Munir. She is an advocate of the District Court. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Welcome back to the show as well. Now, we've kind of defined what social justice is, but I'd start with you, Barrister Danish. What is the overall situation right now?
Well, the overall situation,
I've lost my earpiece.
Yeah, I
Completely
could
fell.
probably hear that.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
there are, as you said, you guys, discussed this already. There are instances of social injustices, and that's why we are here together to discuss it. Now, to remove these social injustices, there are a lot of movements all over the world, and those movements are to ensure that social justice prevails in the society.
Okay.
And as we are all aware that these movements, they work in liaison with the citizens and liaison with all the individual countries, and they ought to promote and foster better relations between the countries and also ensure better social justices.
Okay.
And you see in the taxation system, for instance, I'm just giving you one example.
Sure.
Yeah.
The indirect taxation is something which affects every ordinary citizen. And no matter if he's buying some soap or cooking oil for his home, whatever he does, he pays electricity bills, he has to pay that indirect taxation.
Okay.
Now, if we are to promote social justice in the society, the direct taxation should be promoted and indirect taxation should be removed, so that the rich people, the privileged people, they are only liable to taxation, and the ordinary person, he does not get any indirect taxation.
And this is, I just want to highlight that this is a situation, this is globally, this is not just sitting in Pakistan criticizing Pakistan. You have it in the West, you have it in neighboring countries. So every nation is dealing with this aspect of it. Now, picking up on this, the social justice and injustice, let me ask Aisha, how does one find out about the level of injustice or justice that they have?
I think honestly, living in Pakistan, you can just see right out, what's going on, even starting from our own homes. We see the discrimination between daughters and your sons. The sons can stay out till late, whereas the daughters have to come in they have a curfew. So from the very little thing, that's how it starts.
Okay.
And it goes to a greater level. And just like you said, it doesn't exist only in Pakistan, it exists globally. Even if you look at America right now, And over there, we can see that social justice has increased to the next level now with the new president.
Yeah, because of immigrants and all of that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So it has that. Okay, now, so Danish, tell me, in regards to getting that type of law or the type of rules to apply to everyone, how can a nation ensure that? Because one thing that may apply to you may not be seen very, correct to
Helpful.
someone else.
Yeah.
So how do we get that administration part right?
I think we should all be aware of the rule of law. We should all follow the rule of law.
Okay.
And we should always strive to ensure that the constitution of the country is supreme.
Okay.
Because the constitution is the basic document which sets up the social contract between an individual and the state.
Okay.
And thereby, it gives a rise to rights and, liabilities and what kind of a system it would be. So if we ensure that the constitution is supreme and it is prevalent and the rule of law is, working properly,
Okay.
then we can maintain that balance.
Okay.
All right, but now moving on with the conversation,
Yeah.
there's one more thing which I wanted to discuss, and that is that, and this is on the UN website as well, they say that, social justice can develop if we remove these barriers. Now, the following barriers are age, ethnicity, disability, education,
Gender.
and then culture, and then gender. How? I mean, it was hard for me to understand because this is not very precise of saying that, okay, in this way social justice will develop. For example, in terms of age, how do you think that, with the help of age, social justice can develop? Or what barriers do we get, for example, when we are growing up?
Well, I think in our society, some issues are very taboo, and you don't really, go into those issues, and you don't really discuss them. So I think we should, for example, there is child abuse, and there are other issues which are rising by the day. So
Yeah.
if we are able to remove those, barriers of age, and if we can discuss openly and in a friendly environment with our children, with our, those young adults growing up, teenagers, if you can discuss issues, excuse me, which are really relevant to their responsibilities as individuals, and what kind of role they can play for the development of the country, for the nation. These kind of things, I think, will
Let's
make
see
it
what
better.
Ms. Aisha has to say about it.
Exactly. I would just add to this, it is so important to fill in that communication gap that we have within our community. We don't address most of the issues because we think it's a taboo. Whatever happened in the Kasur incident, that was a major setback for our nation because we don't talk about these things. These things exist. We need laws. And after that incident, now we have amendments in the law. So definitely we need to overcome this issue.
Okay, so highlighting injustice leads to more social justice in the sense that at least the laws and the nation is trying to provide that protection.
Exactly.
Now, another aspect, just stepping away from the law aspect, is social justice also, there's lots of definitions, there's a lot of reading on this yesterday, is also about the equal distribution of resources and opportunities. Now, that's where the age aspect, I guess, would come in. But I want to pick up on what we talked about during our briefing, like let's bring it back to Pakistan. Let's be very specific because we are living in this country. In regards to giving opportunities and resources equally to everyone, we know that's not happening in this country. I think Shazad's figure was 3% of the women own land in this country. When you have a nation of over 50% of women, you have, like unequal distributions of land, the way that the money is being made off the land. So how do we start? Because our problems are quite deep-rooted. But we're still a young nation, so we can actually weed it out.
I think we don't have to look far to ensure that balance and to maintain that kind of a equitable society.
Okay.
In our own religion, in Islam as well, there is, inheritance is provided for women and for females. So if we,
But we say this, in Islam it's not. We talk about it very matter-of-factly, even as a society. But the thing is, these things aren't put into practice because you still have 3% of women in over 50% population of women that have land. That doesn't, I don't know what logic could justify that?
It's a no-brainer. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no logic. And it's basically, it's
It's
basically
injustice.
It's injustice, and it's something which is ingrained in our society, in our system, in our
Exactly.
culture, in our beliefs that women are not allowed to do this. We put full stops to whenever a woman speaks, we say please be quiet. It's a talk of men, grown-up men. So we don't give that kind of a path or that kind of a role that a woman really deserves.
Okay.
And she is, after all, she brings up children, nourishes them, she takes care of them, she gives up a whole of her youth and the whole of her
So how do we
freedom.
bring the?
Yeah,
how do we
and,
give
and
them
before you
justice?
answer that, I think there's one more fact which I would love to share over here as
Please.
well, and it's according to, there was a write-up by the Oxfam as well, and that was in 2015, so that's what the source is. And they said that over here in Pakistan, since we are an agriculture-based economy, so most of the women who are even working or they get a chance to work is within the field of agriculture. And 30% of the women, they work in the field of agriculture as well. And what happens with them is that they are probably the unpaid family members who work. So that's the type of injustice, I think
Okay.
that's where the conversation's going. And then follows the unaddressed issues, which is about obviously income, public services, and then, education, and later on comes other problems.
So we know the value of women, but like, how do we give her more justice? Tell us, what can we do?
I think our constitution provides ample, opportunities and ample rights and responsibilities for women.
Okay.
All we need to do is ensure that we do not stand in the way of the law, and we do not stand in the way of justice, of morality, of norms.
Let's ask Aisha. I think Aisha should probably shed more light on this.
Basically, women have been restricted for so long that they don't really know their rights anymore. You're just talking about owning lands. A woman probably doesn't even feel like she needs to own land.
Yeah.
So we need to
Because we have to work hard all day long.
even our constitution is ample. We have all the rights. That women have equal rights just as men. But us as a society, we need to reform ourselves. We need
So why
to
don't you share your own experiences? I mean, you're an advocate yourself. I
Yes.
mean, you had to break through all of those barriers as well. So share your
Exactly.
own experiences and then let us know what the constitution says for the women of Pakistan as well. So that they would know, they will become more aware of the facts or their fundamental rights.
Exactly. Well, I was honestly, I have been very lucky so far. I haven't had any issues related
Every
to
guest on our
social
show is
injustice.
very lucky.
So yes, I am amongst the minority, but for others, I do feel like
Okay, now, sorry, I'm just going to pause you there before you go further. Now, being part of that minority, but that represents the majority that are going through the injustice, how do you empathize with them? How do you see that? Because the thing is, if you haven't gone through it, how can you give them practical solutions to overcome their social hurdles and
Yes.
those dangers around them?
it's we don't probably face it at that level, but we do face it at some level, at a very small scale even, and we get to see things happening around us. We know a lot of people, a lot of women who are not allowed to have education right after they graduate or right after even high school. They are told, just get married and have kids,
Yeah.
and you don't even need to acquire more education. So we see these things happening all around, and obviously that is injustice. It's the society. The Constitution gives you the right to acquire education, and the Constitution gives you the right to work.
Okay.
But it's the families, it's people at individual levels
Okay.
who do not agree with this.
So how do we bridge that gap now? Because this is the thing, we're highlighting all
Exactly.
the issues. Now, I want to get solutions out of you. How do we bridge that gap? So, in your religion, education is extremely important.
Yeah.
You know it in your rights in the Constitution. If
Exactly.
you're going to school, especially from the people around you, that education is a good way. It's good to have these tools at your disposal. So where is that disconnect? And why are we not able to connect the two?
Before you answer, I think the only reason, Ma, over here is that people are not aware of their fundamental rights as well.
Exactly.
That's
You
why
keep saying that,
Awareness.
but-
We
that-
need to create awareness.
Yeah, I think we need to create awareness, and that's why I came up with the idea that, if you're well aware of the Constitution, go ahead, share it with our viewers. Let them know, let the women of Pakistan know what their rights are. Go ahead.
Basically, as in all constitutions, our constitution enshrine, all the rights and responsibilities of citizens and the state.
All right.
And
Okay.
thereby it provides that there is equality before the law.
Okay.
All citizens are equal before the law, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your age is, no matter what your status is in the society. All of us are equal. So in a sense, that implies that we do not think about, being privileged in
Okay.
the society. All of us have to be responsible, and we have to be answerable to the law.
Okay.
And if we are able to create awareness about this constitution, if we are able to, ensure that people of all ages, of all religion, of all ethnicities are aware of their responsibilities and their rights, what will happen is they will be able to break these age-long, decades-old barriers and decades-old thinking, and whereby they think the other people or their servants,
Yeah.
or their lower privileged class, they are because this country wasn't formed, this nation wasn't formed just because we can live in an enslaved world. This was
Great.
created for free citizens, for free individuals.
Great.
Okay, but we
But
have-
now, I think the only thing which we need to mention over here is, since you guys are working yourself as well, we're working. I mean, on our daily commute as well, we see that there are injustices everywhere within the society.
Yeah.
Especially whenever we talk about workplace. Now, you yourself, what you just have said, obviously it might be there within the Constitution, but that's not what we are practicing as a nation. Now, what do we really need to do so that all of that injustice can be eradicated with the social
yeah,
justice?
because you can talk about awareness, but then
Yeah.
how do we then put it into practice?
Because, for example, if it's you and somebody comes over to you, obviously it's your private practice or whatever is going on, and if somebody cannot afford you, he or she will have to go back home. And the rich guy, who can probably afford a barrister, will win that case, no matter what happens.
And this is globally.
Yeah,
I think
obviously.
I think things have changed a little bit from those times when someone wasn't able to afford a lawyer. Now the Supreme Court is taking notices.
Okay.
Okay.
And the Supreme Court is taking suo motu notices of fundamental human rights violations.
Very
And
nice.
you've seen in these cases, Supreme Court, I mean, you remember the Iftikhar Chaudhry Chief Justice, when he was the Chief Justice, the judiciary was at its peak, taking notices. And now, after a long time, there was a time when this wasn't happening. But now again, once more, the Supreme Court is starting to take notices. You saw the case of an additional session judge who was, who kept a servant,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she
we've
was
seen-
underage,
we've witnessed that.
and she was beaten, and that notice was taken by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And another case was the heart cases. When the pharmaceutical companies, they were putting stunts which were not reliable, which were not quality assured, and Supreme Court took notice of that. So it's not as if no one is doing anything. It's not as if people are not aware of their rights and nothing is happening, because the courts are taking cognizance.
All right.
And this is, I think, by far
news.
the big reason for
great
that is the media, and the media is creating awareness about it. So things are changing for good.
I think amazing that is, but ladies and gentlemen, for now, I think we'll have to go for a short break, and when you guys are going to come back, I'll tell you that, what percentage of, rich guys, kids go to school, and what percentage of the poorest, I think the underprivileged go to school as well. I think that's something which we need to share over here. And what are the reasons behind that? That's something which we need to discuss. And then following, we will definitely move on towards the solutions and what we need to do as a member of the society. Let's go for a short break, and when you will be back, that's what we're discussing. Good morning.
passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Chandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Chandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Chandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we were discussing a very important subject, which is social justice and the situation within Pakistan. And we've already talked about the rest of the world.
Yep.
And we've also said that this is not Pakistan bashing or anything. This is about reflecting and seeing how can we now evolve and take ourselves forward, because injustice is something that we are seeing everywhere in the world. And, you know, I feel like if, you know, foreign countries are not becoming as safe or as welcoming for people from Pakistan, then, you know, Pakistan needs to be at the best of its ability, because people are going to be visiting.
And Ma,
probably
you know
moving
what,
back.
at the same time, I think I would love to say this over here, that, you know, for a lot of our Pakistani people, they do love to quote America and then the West as well. And I think that that's the country where social injustice is at the topmost over here, over there with the, for example, if we talk about immigrants, for example, if we talk about minorities, for example, I mean, we can keep on talking about that, and they're taking it into that direction too. But let it be alone. I mean, what we were saying was that, you know, 82% of the privileged people, kids, they go to school. And then the 50% of the underprivileged go to school. And that 50% consists majorly of the boys as well.
Okay.
So that's the injustice, first of all. But now, for example, if we are to calculate whether there is equality within the society or not, how do you think we can do that?
I think one is instances what the example that you just gave us, you know, that how only boys are enrolled in schools.
Yeah.
That's not equality, is it? And for instance, you know, if someone breaks the law, you also see whether the person is answerable to the law or not. And in our system, you know, what we see is that the privileged, you know, they are not answerable to the law. If they commit a crime, be it, you know, a theft or be it the murder of someone, such a grave crime as well, they are not answerable to the law as such. They get away, whether it is by paying money to the relative's family or whether it is, you know, by some other means, by manipulating the judicial system or, you know, adversarial system. They get away with it.
Okay.
So that's not equality, is it?
Okay, no, it's not. But the thing is, there have been new amendments to the law and to the practices to ensure that people aren't able to, you know, sidestep the law. Those steps are being taken, correct or not?
They are being taken, but still we are quite a long distance away from achieving that.
Okay, Aisha, would you like to add something to this?
Yes, definitely. I think what's happening right now is that the rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming even poorer. So that needs to stop, you know, like that's where we can see where the inequality lies.
Okay. Now, okay, so sorry, you just triggered off a thought in my mind. Now, you guys are sitting here, you know, you've interacted with people from all different backgrounds. You've done that, especially, you know, in your career leading up. Now, when you're in that situation, there's hundreds of, like, you know, you're a society, you're a community. Now, they're getting poorer. There's more discrimination of the distribution of resources within the, you know, their society or their nation or whatnot. Now, as a collective, how have they not, as individuals, how can someone not go out there and then say, well, actually, this is not right. We should be getting more money, or we should be getting paid better, or, you know, we have fundamental rights to have food, or how is that thought not even being triggered in their heads? Because is it because of the extreme level of poverty, or what's happening there? Why aren't people being inspired to find out about their own rights and stuff?
I think that
And I'm talking from a very privileged point of view. I do understand that.
I think most people are too busy into, you know, earning their livings.
Okay.
And they do not have time to go to, you know, these protests or these movements, even though there are social rights organizations all over Pakistan, all over the world, and they're trying to create awareness among the people.
Yeah.
But people are not, you know, because people have joined liberation movements in the past, they have joined, you know, social justice movements in the past,
Yeah.
but they haven't been able to get something out of it. For example, you know, we can quote in our history, People's Party, you know, it came up with the slogan of Roti, Kapda and Makan,
Yeah.
which is the most basic right of every individual, and which in a sense, if you are providing that to citizens, the social justice, you know, will prevail. But unfortunately, that movement also, you know, it wasn't able to look
Deliver.
after the people as such, and it failed in that sense.
And I think I would love to, you know, expand on this as well. So while I was doing my research and I was on the internet and I was reading different articles, that's most of the times the primary factor of social inequality is because of the fact that these political parties are very, they hold a very strong control over here within the public as well. And just because of their vote bank, they make sure that there is inequality within the society, for example, or probably on ethnic issues, or probably on religious issues, and that's how they divide too. So, you know, I'm not saying anything bad about any other political party which is over here in Pakistan, but that's what the research says. But now moving on, there was one more thing which I wanted to say and discuss, and that was that, well, for example, whenever we talk about social injustice or social inequality, as a matter of fact, what I've realized is that, you know, I think law gives us the ability and the power to probably make sure that the society enjoys social justice and equality, right? But there have been no major reforms since, I think, the 19th century and the law system we follow. So how do you think that the law is going to make every Pakistani more stronger and equal?
Well, that's a very valid point, and I think the law should be like a, you know, it should not be static. It should always be moving.
Yeah.
And the constitution should also be evolving over time. It should, you know, cater to the present day needs, not to what the needs were 50 years ago or 20 years ago or so. And in that respect, we have failed, and we have failed miserably. Please allow me to say that.
Okay.
And we haven't changed the law as such, and the laws that are in implementation, you know, we haven't implemented those laws, the laws in force. So in that respect, we need to work a lot. And the civil society have a very, you know, primary, cause in this respect, and they have a very strong responsibility. They need to create awareness, and they need to, as you just said, the political organizations, you know, they kind of hijack these major issues. They don't let these issues be real issues and then solve them. They speak about the poor, they talk about all the injustices in the society, but when they come into power, they aren't able to deliver, you know, properly or fully. So in that respect, the civil society or the movement which are, you know, promoting social justice, they should be independent of all these political parties, and they should only look for reforms,
Very nice.
and they should also always look for rehabilitation and redistribution of wealth and resources, and they should create a very strong, you know, third force or a pressure group kind of a thing, which no matter which government is in power, you know, they are able to pull the government in their direction and go towards reforms.
There's always been some form of law-based organization or system that kind of keeps everyone, there's a check and balance in place. Now, I want to ask Aisha, because, you know, we're coming towards the end of the show, But as as a young lawyer, as someone who hasn't really gone through so many difficulties, but that's a minority. How important do you think it is for lawyers of your generation to actually get more involved with the with the civil society and kind of work hand in hand with them, as in raising awareness of certain laws? Or because the thing is, lawyers are not as accessible. Their time is not cheap. So how much responsibility do you think the new generation lawyers should take in creating awareness, which will probably create more social justice because people will be aware of their rights?
Yes, I think we have a major responsibility towards the civic society, because we are aware of the law, of the constitution, that normal people aren't. And I think one major thing we lack as a nation and as somebody belonging to the field of law is research. Lawyers keep filing petitions upon petitions, but nobody really researches as to why and how this is, why is this happening and how can we address this issue and overcome our problems as a nation.
Okay.
So I think this is what us lawyers can really help in. We need to carry out more research.
Okay.
And also, the privileged society needs to become a part of the underprivileged society. We need to go out on the streets with them, for them to make a change, to bring about a change.
Okay, but do you think people really truly do that though? Do they actually? No, because I hear a lot about it, and you have a lot of development work going on. But I mean, do you think it's making an impact? Do you think it's having an impact?
It definitely is. I think a revolution won't come if the privileged society is not going to come out on the streets. We have to do this at some point,
Okay.
No, but do you think that coming out on the streets is the only solution, or we can probably settle it in a better way?
Well, there are many ways to settle it.
So tell us, let's discuss the ways that we can.
I think the lawyers, they need to also take a big responsibility, because we don't take pro bono cases as such, in that quantity as we need to.
Okay.
And because these problems are in every district of Pakistan, in every locality of Pakistan, in every municipality of Pakistan.
Okay.
And if the lawyers take up, because we do have a pro bono division, and lawyers do take up pro bono cases, but they are not in that quantity that should be taken. So one aspect of this is that the lawyers need to step up.
All right.
And the civil society, as I mentioned earlier as well, they need to also perform their roles in a better way. The media has a very big role to play, because you see that the cases which are being taken up by the Supreme Court and by the courts, suo moto, they are taken up at the instance of the media. And the media needs to, play a better role. The politicians, they obviously have a big connection with all this. Even though they might shy away from their responsibilities at some occasions, but still they have a very big responsibility.
Okay, and just before we move on to our vegetable, fruit, whatever it is of the day,
Yeah, that was
I want
confusing.
to ask you mentioned the role of the media. Now, the media does play a vital role in the creation of social justice and highlighting social injustice. But when the media itself, and this is, I think, is a really important subject to discuss as well, when the media itself is not following rules and regulations and generals, I mean, I recently saw some lady barge into someone's house, and she was a media person. Now, when they're not playing by the rules and they're creating injustice too, then what hope does anyone have? And these are the smallest channels and whatnot. So how do we bring the media on board that actually you guys have a really huge role to play? How do we keep them in check and balance?
I think we need to create some understanding between them and also the regulatory authority, like PEMRA, for instance. And they need to set out some, ground rules that these are the barriers you cannot cross. These are the instances which you have done wrong in the past, and they shouldn't be repeated.
Okay.
And I think the foremost responsibility is of the media itself.
Yeah.
The self-regulation.
Exactly.
Rather than be dictated by someone else, they should
Absolutely.
step up themselves and create a code of conduct and
But we
ethics.
do have institutions
And they are
in
working on
shape
that
and place
as well.
and they're working. But thank you
Great,
very
thank
much
you
for
so
coming
much for
over.
your time.
Thank you very much for sharing. And I would love to wrap this segment up with
Go
a
for it.
saying by Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere."
Wonderful.
So that's what it is. So please make sure, people, that you are not doing what you're not supposed to do.
Exactly. And now we're going to share with you our plant
Is it?
of the day.
I think plant would be a safer word
Let's
to
go
use.
with plant.
And that is aloe vera. Let's
Yeah,
talk
let's
about the
talk about aloe
benefits of
vera.
aloe vera.
So let's take a look.
Because, you know, since all my childhood I've been hearing
can
that you
drink
know,
it.
all aloe vera is in the shampoo and in the cream.
It's very good.
Makes
It's-
you look good. Okay,
it's
so
very
go
good.
ahead.
So actually, you can eat it and drink it. So it is good. It's a digestive cure. It is a rheumatoid arthritis treatment.
Better
and,
for muscle and joint pains, for
Yeah.
heart reflux.
and it reduces the cholesterol level. It also helps with healthy weight loss.
For dental and oral hygiene as well, fights diabetes, helps to detox.
And then it also maintains your gum health. It reduces irritation in the eyes.
I think you need to use that too.
Yeah.
Relieves sinus and chest congestion, anti-carcinogenic,
Yeah.
builds immunity.
And then it fights common cold and coughs, which you can have, Shazad. And it fights the fine signs of aging, guys.
Then removes dead cells as well as soothing aftershave.
And then, yeah, it's very good for your aftershave. And it removes acne and acne marks and prevents, for lots of Pakistani ladies out there, you'll love this, and men actually, it prevents suntan and it soothes the skin. So it's perfect with the summer coming up. You guys can use it.
Yeah,
and it's everywhere in Pakistan.
Yeah, and with this, we do have a question to ask from all our people who are out there who are watching us today. And the question is, what do we call aloe vera in Urdu? Okay, so for all those people who are interested to answer this question, all you need to do is log on to our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well, this morning.
on Twitter,
Well, this morning without a
on
G.
Dailymotion and YouTube.
Well, this morning.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at?
11:05 p.m.
Yeah.
in the evening.
But just in case, do you know what do we call aloe vera in Urdu?
No.
So
okay.
see, it's a difficult one. You're going to
And
get
we
some-
didn't know. I didn't know. I don't know.
Yeah, so let surprise us, please, people. So till the next time, look after yourself. 1, 2, 3.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
You can get it done privately. Take two. Lady doctor. You can get it done privately, closer to home, but for a safe delivery, you must get another ultrasound. I know this is difficult for you to travel all the way, especially in this condition, but the ultrasound was important. There is nothing to worry about, but I suspect there might be. Ambulances, they are out of order. There is no maintenance. There might be complications as the baby is still not in the right position. No, sorry, I have to do that one again. Okay. Lady doctor. Wait, take 4, lady doctor. You can get it done privately closer to home, but for a safe delivery, you must get another ultrasound. I know it is difficult for you to travel all the way, especially in this condition, but the ultrasound was very important. There is nothing to worry about, but I suspect there might be. Ambulances, they are out of order. There is no maintenance. There might be complications as the baby is still not in the right position. I recommend you come here for the delivery. Hello, how are you today? How was that? Too fast? Press it. Okay. Take 3 or 4, I can't remember. Lady doctor. You can get it done privately, closer to home, but for a safe delivery, you must get another ultrasound. I know it is difficult for you to travel all the way, especially in this condition, but the ultrasound was important. There is nothing to worry about, but I suspect there might be. Ambulances, they are out of order. There is no maintenance. There might be complications as the baby is still not in the right position. I recommend you come here for the delivery. Hello, how are you today? Was it too fast still? Would you please finish this?
Pakistan ratifies the Paris Agreement on climate change today at the United Nations headquarters in New York.
World Bank offers mediation to Pakistan and India for resolution of dams issue on the Indus Water Treaty.
The Foreign Office says Pakistan looks forward to working closely with the new administration in the United States towards mutual benefit of both countries.
President-elect Donald Trump meets President Barack Obama at the White House. Both the leaders discuss issues pertaining to foreign and domestic policies.
Rain washes away the opening day's play of the practice match between Pakistan and New Zealand A in Nelson.
Leonard Cohen, the storied musician and poet hailed as